Well, guys, wouldn't you know it? After I bitched and moaned for 3 months straight, they finally listened. Not just to me, we were all saying it, but holy crap, Matrix was an unplayable, overtuned mess, and they have changed it. They have changed it in a huge way. Is it all for the better? Absolutely not. But is a lot of it for the better? Absolutely. Awakenings on your heroes are far less crucial, at least to get a decent score. There are so many more team comps that you can employ to get a competitive score. The chess tiers have been completely reformed in a very player-friendly way, and all in all, this is a much cleaner fight. Before, this was a hot mess. Now, this is just kind of a mess, but at least it's a playable mess, and it's a mess I'm going to start covering a lot on the channel, because I think officially this is at least content. Previously, I could not have despised Matrix more. Now, at least, they are starting to see how useless and broken what they had created previously was. So you can think of this video as a guide or a primer or an introduction when it comes to everything you must know about the new Matrix. And it really is a new Matrix. They got rid of 80% of the old fight. A lot of the standard things are still true. They're throwing a lot of units at you, and you have to deal a lot of AoE damage, but so much of the technique, so much of the way the boss attacks you and his mobs attack you has been completely reformed. So in this video, there are going to be several parts. I'm going to go over the changes, I'm going to break down the changes, then I'm going to introduce you to new ways of thinking about this content, and then at the end, I've got a great showcase that I really think is going to blow your mind. I have got an all A0 melee team featuring an incredible epic DPS that's going to blow your mind. We are going to put up a ridiculous score compared to how this used to be. And remember, getting a higher score is so much more valuable now because the chess tiers have been completely recalibrated. We're going to break it all down. Let's get into it. This is very good news, guys. This is not solved yet, but this Matrix 1 entire overhaul represents a huge step in the right direction. Let's go.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
All right, so you can see the Matrix changes were so significant. It is such a drastic overhaul. In a lot of ways, it's a new fight. And this was such an intense makeover in the eyes of the developers. They created a whole update announcement just about Matrix. I'm not gonna go reading through this whole thing. I understand it well enough. I'll take you through it really quick, but I did want to bring your attention to it. The official changes to Matrix went live on the global server this past Wednesday. That was about 2.5, 3 days ago. And there are a lot of them. So let's begin. I do have to cover my bases and at least let people know what's been going on here, because I have been beating the crap out of the Matrix is a piece of crap drum forever. You can see 3 months ago, this new guild boss is a disaster. Zerbus Matrix 1 is literally broken. And I was just explaining how you could have every unit in the game. You could have A5 of everything. You could have perfect gear on everyone. You couldn't even come close to the 320k chest you needed, let alone a 200k chest. It is insane. And I'm talking about, when I say that you needed your ultimate goal, right? We should all eventually be able to achieve an ultimate goal. It was literally impossible. You could not deal damage fast enough. The fight was fundamentally broken. You can see here, all A5 fails. New boss is impossible. Even full meta monsters fails. This sucks. I went on and on about this. I hate it so much. I got one down here. You can see Guild Boss 3 is beyond broken. They need to fix this now. What must already change? I really could not believe how defective this fight was. So you can see me and my friend Behemoth have prepared some slides. We've done a ton of research into this new fight, and like I said, I officially consider this actual content. I was very intentionally ignoring Matrix as much as I could the past month and a half after my initial gripes, and I was basically like, I'm not going to engage with this, I'm not going to promote this until something changes. Something changed. I think it's at the point now where I am going to cover it a lot, so if you want Matrix content, a lot of stuff is prepared, a lot of stuff's coming. But we got to start here. We got to start with what even is it now? So we've got 3 really good slides I'm excited to share with you guys. First things first, let's actually begin in the patch notes. We have to cover it at least a little bit. These changes are so significant. So the best place to start is point number 1 in the adjustments preview. Boss skills removed. Chain Fission, Relentless Evolution, Emergency Recharge Protocol, and Annihilation Pulse. These represent 4 of his main 5 moves. His kit is just thrown in the trash. He was that bad of a boss. It was that defective and broken of a fight. They literally threw out 4 of the unit's 5 moves. Just wrap your head around that. The main change they added is the skill Pact of Silence. They added a couple new things, obviously, because they got rid of all the old stuff, basically, except for Focus Strike, as we're going to discuss. But Pact of Silence is the key thing. What you need to know about it is when Pact of Silence comes, when the countdown is complete and it begins, Zerbus, the boss, he initiates a destruction protocol and he starts a countdown. So what you really need to know is when Pact of Silence begins, Zerbus is going to begin a countdown. He initiates this destruction protocol and the countdown begins. At the end of it, he deals a big, devastating AoE strike, hitting everyone on the field 1 time. Killing monsters during the countdown, like you attacking the summons, the mobs that Zerbus is bringing out, you killing them is going to weaken Zerbus's energy level. It knocks back his energy level. That's very key. And it reduces the final ult damage. So it reduces the damage of that final big map-wide AoE hit when the countdown ends. So you have that amount of time to kill as many mobs as possible, to knock back his energy as much as possible, which I promise will make sense in a second, so that, you know, the energy's knocked back, which is so important for lasting in this fight, and the big AoE hit isn't as bad as it could be if you weren't able to pull that off. They've added another skill. This is Decay Overflow, and this is very relevant as well. He releases an energy wave covering the entire battlefield 1 time. This deals instant damage to all enemies and inflicts a stackable continuous damage debuff. So we're basically under a dot. However, previously we could not cleanse stuff in this fight. Now we can. Stacks are affected by energy transfer and, so his growing energy, as we're going to discuss in a moment, but they can be dispelled. So you need a dispeller now for this content. We have enough options. Our girl Tallulah has seen an enormous glow up. She's so relevant now. Yes, she's a little hard to build and invest in. At the highest levels, you very likely are going to need her exclusive artifact and her exclusive piece of gear, her exclusive bangle, but pretty cool to see her really shine in a piece of content. And a lot of cleansers are making do. I've even seen mid-on getting used on sub-comps where people need it as a supplemental cleanser. So if we go here, the next thing is very interesting. They kept 1 skill from the original Matrix. Out with the Chain Fission, out with the Relentless Evolution, out with the Emergency Recharge Protocol, and out with those big Annihilation Pulse hits. But they did keep the peskiest of the bunch, and that is going to be this, Focused Strike. However, they've removed the death penalty, and this is very clutch. So with Focus Strike, first off, you can tank it a lot easier now. And also, if you die, there's not going to be a death penalty where then all your units are hit with a huge AoE chunk of damage that previously could wipe your entire team. They removed that. That's pretty major. Now, finally, we get to the energy part. I really should have brought this up earlier, but I'm trying to go within their flow. If I was their editor, I'd be like, we should do the energy transfer on the top. But basically, the boss now has a new passive skill called Energy Transfer. Whenever an enemy unit dies, so one of the mobs that the boss is summoning dies, Zerbus is going to have his energy level increased. Each new level from this is going to increase all monsters' attack and max HP by 1%. 1% might not sound like much, but before you know it, you'll be at hundreds of stacks, and when you get to 200 or 300 for sure stacks, this is a really, really brutal fight. They are so strong, it's going to kind of fall apart. And it's not just attack, right? It's his HP, so he's a lot tankier, so you're just not earning frags as quickly. You see a major drop-off that we're about to discuss. So there's a huge new strat that's come out that I'm going to showcase in this video in the run that I prepared on the test server in the all A0 team. That's pretty amazing, and this is definitely, I think, how you should approach it, at least for now, at the time of this video coming out. Finally, I don't need to break down all of this. Basically, all the common monsters, all the enemy mobs, the boss summons, they're all just like new units. Their skills have been completely redone, whatever. They just look similar, but functionally they're completely different. The initial attributes for the boss and the common monsters have been tuned. They're actually a lot weaker at the beginning, which is huge because now there's a 2,000 mech fragment chest, so people will be able to engage in this and at least get something every week, or a lot of people will. That's huge. They've adjusted the spawn mechanisms. We'll go over that. They have adjusted the unlock conditions for Matrix. So previously, your guild just had to get Titanic Ruins Apocalypse 2 Semra to seriously injured by the guild, so you just have to take down Semra. Now you have to do that and your personal mech fragments in Semra. APOC 2 has to be 30k. Shouldn't be too hard if you're getting ready to take on Matrix to get to your 30k. If you need help with that, I have put out a 2-part super guide overview of Semra this week, updated for 2026. The first guide is how to build your teams, how to choose your teams, and how to gear your teams. It is one of the better videos I've ever made. And the second video is good. The first one is the crowning achievement for me, I think. The second video is just a full walkthrough where I teach you every technique, every timing. They're very in-depth, as some of my videos tend to be, but if you are struggling with Semra, I promise, look at the comment section. People are like, I went from 40k to 270k. I went from 5k to 45k. I mean, the growth is crazy. Finally, there are new achievements, and I will say, I don't want to glaze over it. This achievement is pretty wild because you're gonna get a chest where you get to choose between getting Demon Captain Slaughter and Demon Captain Glacius. You know, your boy already has both because I've goated Demon Chest luck. Not to make people too jealous. The guy who deserves it the least got it. That selector's coming if you can get to 160k. Previously, and this is the last thing I want to do before we go to our slides, previously getting to 160k was like unthinkable, right? At least for almost anyone. Now it is very doable. You know, when I say very doable, I don't mean you're going to be able to do it, but it's coming in the future. If we look at the top scores already, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Actually, they have the numbers right here. I shouldn't count. Let's just scroll till it goes under 160. I mean, look at this. Previously, no one could do this, and now we're looking at how many people. It was 150k was the other chest, but that's all been recalculated. I mean, look at this. How many people is it? There we go. There we go. 60 people already, week 1 after the change, can get that 160k chest. So 60 people are getting, I believe that's the second highest, or third highest. That's the third highest mech fragment chest, right? 250, 200, 160. 60 people week 1, not even done with the week. Right now it's Saturday, have got this. They all got their Slaughterer / Glacius selector chests for Demon Captains. That's night and day how much more doable this is. I mean, these guys are 16/25ths of the way there. I mean, what is that? Basically, they're 2/3 of the way there, a little less than 2/3 of the way there. That is enormous. That is huge. So let's talk about the chests very quickly because this is the best change they made. And then let's go to the slides. Then let's go to the fight. Previously, it was impossible to hit some of these things. It started at 8k. A lot of people can get that. That was the lowest chest. That was reward 1. Now it's reward 2. Awesome. Then it jumped straight from 8 to 40. That's a jump of 32,000 fragments. That's not realistic for a lot of players. It was such impossibly hard content if you didn't have a super meta team comp and top tier gear. It was already endgame or close to endgame by that point, at least super late game. So it jumped from 8k at reward 1 all the way to 40k at reward 2. Now, 40k is reward 4 because 8k is reward 2, and we have a new reward 3 that's a very reasonable 20k. 12k above the 8k and 20k below the 40k. That's excellent. The craziest part is previously the third reward, just the third reward was 100k. Now it's the 6th reward. It used to jump 60k from 40,000 to 100,000. Now we got right in between 30k above 40, 30k below 100k. We got the 70k chest for reward 5. So a lot of people already this week are going to be hitting the 70k chest. Because remember, let's take a step aside, it's a lot easier to deal damage now. No one was getting 175k before. No one was getting 160k. Now so many people are getting 100k. I'm going to tell you right now, I was very casually doing Matrix, getting about 60k, I think it was, 60, 65k. I'm going to try it tomorrow. If you want me to stream that, let me know. If this video gets 300 likes, I'll stream it tomorrow. Otherwise, I probably won't. So make sure to like the video. But I can guarantee you, I'm going to get 100k. Like, I will get, I might have to sweat it a bit, but I will get 100k already getting reward 6. So these are huge changes. Then if you look higher for the highest level players, like, so for me, I'm going to get 100k. I'm confident in that. Like I said, I might have to sweat it out, but I can already look ahead. Okay, 130k. How could I make that happen? What awakenings do I need? Who should I be hunting for? What new thing could come out? Keeping an eye on new units. All of a sudden, this is like real content where you're like, how can I push a little higher? What gear upgrades do I need? So on and so on. If you're at 130k, you can already look at 160k. That's possible. And frankly, we're still just discovering better and better strategies for this fight. These guys at the tippy top, granted they're the best players in the world, they're gonna get 200k. I'll mark my words, from when this video comes out, within 3 weeks, someone will get 200k. It might be within a week. You know, we learn this content very, very quickly. Obviously, this is a God squad, all A5s and all that stuff, but at least it's possible. Before, it was impossible. Now for the 250K, which previously, by the way, the top chest was 320. So it went 8, 40, 100, 150, 200. I'm trying to remember if there was something between 200 and 320. If there was, it was like 260, 320, you know? It was just all ridiculous and it was way harder to earn fragments. Now you always have these things to look forward to. So like I said, within 3 weeks, I'm confident someone will get 200K, and then they'll be 80% of the way to 250. Maybe we're one hero away. Maybe we're one little tweak away. Who knows? Maybe one big strat discovery. Even if that's the case, at least we know there is a finish line, and these absolute gods one day can do it. And we've seen this many times before. As soon as a couple people can do it, the next month, several people can do it. The next month, you know, dozens of people can do it. And within 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, just like Abyss, many, 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 many players can do it. And everyone has like a path to work towards. That's how content releases work effectively in this game, in my opinion. All right, ended the spiel, but I really think this is just great because it's motivating, it's engaging. Remember, especially at the beginning of the fight, you can earn frags a lot easier. So low-level players, or I don't mean low, but like maybe early late game players, you know, when you're first unlocking this content, you definitely will be able to get this 2K chest. If you are still struggling with this 2K chest, let me know and I can make a guide on just like how to just get 2K, but you can. That's 1K on each mode, right? This is total between the two modes. So very cool stuff. The final absolutely essential thing is because the chest values have been recalibrated and because we can deal so much more damage, so many more people, well, naturally you're going to be dealing more damage. It's easier to get frags now. And because you have these new chest tiers to motivate you, a lot of people that were already dealing more damage because of these changes are going to be motivated to deal even more damage. So many more guilds are going to be able to take down Zerbus. You actually are going to get the bonus chest that you get from killing him as a guild just by virtue of this fact. Yes, it takes as much damage, but we all deal so much more damage now, and everyone's so much more motivated now. Let's quickly use my guild as an example, and then let's head into the slideshow. I can't wait to show you guys all this stuff, but I mean, look at this. Previously, last week, my guild just killed him. It literally came down to the last percentage. We didn't even know if we got it in time. It was a total sweat show. 29 of us out of the 30 of us had to put in attacks, and we all were putting in our best efforts. We barely killed it. We have already zeroed this guy with only 16 attacks. My guild did not get twice as good overnight. In a lot of ways, the boss got 2 times easier and that much cleaner. It's a much better fight. It's an imperfect fight, but it's a much better fight. And look at that. Even my guild leader and Ronan over here, they've already broke the 160K. So they're already in that elite group as it stands right now. And I think a lot more people are going to get there a lot sooner. All right, on to the slides. But if we look here, a quick little before monsters would spawn 3 times with spawns of 8 to 10. They're coming from either side, we'd get these spawns, we'd have to deal with that, we'd have to kill them quickly enough to push his bar back, and then he would go into that relentless evolution mode where he's vulnerable, then there'd be more spawns, and we deal damage, and blah, 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 blah. I thought it was a sloppy mess. There was not enough damage to be dealt, so he did a focus strike every 20 seconds with spawn 1 and spawn 2. This focus strike would go for your highest HP unit. It would hit, and then it would pulse out damage. I think it was 6 times over 12 seconds, something like that. It's completely ridiculous. It would alternate with an annihilating pulse every 20 seconds, which is a big AoE hit. A lot easier to deal with, but whatever. And the pattern would go focus strike, annihilating pulse, focus strike, annihilating pulse, etc. It would keep going until the 3rd side spawn. You could avoid that 2nd focus strike if you dealt damage fast enough, got to the 3rd wave, put him in relentless revolution. Whatever. The way the boss progressed phase to phase to phase, because you'd beat him and then he'd come back stronger, beat him, come back stronger, very similar to Semra. In Zerbus's case, he would gain 30% attack and 30% HP every death, so every time he revived. So, you know, through each phase, he was growing by these 30s. Typically, people would make it 6 in. That was like the max. It wasn't typical, but you know, the best accounts, you'd get to 6. That's an increase of 180k attack. Tanks just couldn't keep up any further than that, so that's kind of where it ended, right? Now, mobs are spawning 10 at a time. It's a static wave. They respawn instantly when you clear the waves. The focus strike ability does start at 20 seconds, but as the fight goes on, it becomes faster, eventually settling at 16 seconds between focus strikes. Remember, the focus strike doesn't hit as hard, and if it gets a kill, it doesn't wipe your whole team. They have the new decaying overflow ability that also is alternating every 20 seconds, and it also works down to 16 seconds as the fight goes on. And then we've got the really key new ability, Pact of Silence. This is a 10-second window in which you can burst out a bunch of damage, and in that time, you can knock back his energy stacks. So he's gaining energy stacks, right? 1% attack and 1% health every time you kill a spawn, every time you kill one of his mobs. But when Pact of Silence is happening, you have this window to knock back energy, which is really, really, really important. So to wrap up with that boss progression, yes, it's 1% attack at a time, 1% health. You really want to take advantage of those Pact of Silence windows to knock back the energy stacks. By the end of the fight, depending on how well you're doing and how quickly you're killing and whatever, it is not uncommon to see 300 to 400 stacks. That would be 300% more attack and 300% more HP, or 430% more attack and 430% more HP. It's kind of crazy, but remember, he starts at a weaker place. The boss is going to hit way harder. The spawns are going to be way tankier. It's really difficult to manage your damage beyond 300 stacks. Those are usually the last 2 minutes. You're going to see this all right now as we head into a showcase. First though, let me show you the final 2 slides. This is the typical damage rate for a long fight. So this is something Behemoth helped me map out. You can see we start the fight. That first minute, we're dealing about 12 or 13K. The next minute, we're dealing about 10K, then about 10K, and then it kind of trails off to about 6K a minute, 8K a minute. What is this? 5.5K a minute, a little less than 6K a minute. So you can basically see damage starts at about 10 frags. Yeah, but these numbers, by the way, are the frags you're earning per minute, because there's only so much time in the fight. This is just where we're at right now on like a standard thing. Better accounts do better, worse accounts do worse, is what is, right? Damage is going to start off at 10 frags per minute in this example, and then it's going to go down to 6 frags per minute. It's going to depend on your account, depend on what you're running. The key thing is, though, it trails off. You can't keep up with your initial rate. That's usually by 2 minutes left in the fight or so. Very little damage is possible for the last chunk of the fight. You can't earn it at the same way. So here's another way to think about it. His spawns are gaining 300 to 400% health by the end. That's crazy. And yeah, damage at the end is really tough. Now, really cool, and you're going to see this specifically in the showcase we're heading into right now, so this is the perfect transition, is at low awakenings, we have very, very, very good units, including an amazing, amazing epic Estrid, who you're going to see here. So these are some of the best budget melee heroes. Now, when I say budget, I mean they're at A0. Every unit's kind of hard to get because who knows who you're going to pull, especially with the ancient exclusive ones, aside from Estrid. You're going to get her. She's an epic. Also, we're focusing specifically on the melee side of the fight because I think that's more accessible and easier to see for a lot of people. Bulwark, that's the magic side of the fight, definitely still requires a lot of specific units, though I'm sure we'll figure out more stuff. But let's get into it. You can see the fight now suits execution heroes and those who do sustained damage, hitting more spawns. Nightmare is now viable. Remember, I said a lot more factions are usable. Previously, it was like just Northerner and just Watcher, right? That's constantly what you were seeing. Now, it's not. You can make other things work. Like Nightmare is viable under Rygar. Units that previously you might not have used, you can use and are fantastic. Obviously, Lycan, very good. Kagiri at High Awakenings, very good. Van Helsing was starting to see a lot of play, but now you can use Hotsit. That's very, very clutch, and she's effective. Piercer teams with Araka are viable. Van Helsing and Nyx are still going to do really, really well there. Northerners, we have a ton of units, and Estrid is just phenomenal. An A5 Estrid, you will get her. You should invest in her if you're a new account. She's a hard carry here, which is incredible. And then with Watchers, we have our standards like Neza. I probably shouldn't have even included Kagiri here because you really do need Awakenings, but a High Awakening Kagiri, Talon, and then Cratch. Cratch, you probably still could do something with that A0. You'll see it on the sheet. I mean, that's not nothing, but he really likes his A5. Kagiri, definitely you're going to need Awakenings, but every other unit, we can move on to this chart below me now. Every other unit is going to function at A0 in a really good way. A0 Lycan, putting up close to 1 billion damage. A0 Ardia, putting up 910 million. Estrid coming in third ahead of Neza in this form of the testing. It all depends on how you distribute, but I mean, this is possible, is kind of what we're getting at. 832 million. A0 Neza, 727 million. 644 million for A0 Van Helsing, 614 million for A0 Adrian, little typo there, but Adrian's also so clutch because he can tank for you and deal damage, which is insane. Adrian is so good. I'm so happy I hyped him as hard as I did. Then we got Mina. Mina is, give me 30 seconds to talk about Mina. She is very good, but she is very much an Ardia companion hero. She is not that strong without Ardia in terms of dealing damage, and then her use really comes in the form of boosting Ardia. So it's like she can deal damage because of Ardia, and Ardia deals some more damage because of her. And that's super symbiotic because she needs an ally with insanely high attack, and she's in the same faction as Ardia if you're running Northerners. And it's just become this like necessary duo. So if you have an Ardia, you can make really good use out of Mina. You can see this is an A0 Mina with a crit damage build. The way things are now with Mina after the buff, you can lean 100% into crit damage. Just blast that to the moon. She's going to get all the attack she needs from Ardia. Very cool stuff. I do think we'll figure out more effective things with Mina. Right now, she's definitely good, but I do think she's like a little overhyped because the average player is not going to see that much damage out of her. And if you don't have Ardia, it's just, I don't think she's going to be a top option. I would just pick someone else. So next up, we got Hot Sit, another typo, my God, and then Fenrix, another typo. I'm going to keep it in. I'm not perfect, but this wasn't fastidious of me. See this Hot Sit here? I mean, that's not nothing. 371 million, really good. A0 Fenris coming in with 260 million. And yeah, Cratch, annoying RNG at low awakenings, but even then, he's still getting 232 million. So there's just a ton of options. There's many more we can test in the future. So without further ado, let's get into the showcase and let's wrap this thing up. I'm excited, man. I don't think this content is even close to perfect, but officially, as I said a couple times, this is content now. Like, this is actually something we can discuss, we can strategize around, we can engage with, and not feel like, you know, we're just pushing the boulder up the hill, you know? Let's go. So guys, here we go. I've got some pre-filmed footage from the test server. You can see this is going to be the team we're running. We've got a Northerner comp and then a Piercer comp with a Raka. Super, super doable stuff. It's going to be really fun. I think you're going to be really impressed. As you can see, everyone is at A0. So let's hop into this fight. If you want to see some live Matrix fighting, like I said, if this video gets 300 likes, I will go on my account live tomorrow and push for that 100K plus on my account. That should be pretty dang fun. Also, if you made it this far into the video and you appreciate this, this was a ton of research. It took a really long time to put together. I think Behemoth and I started working on this like 9 days ago, and a huge shout out to Chris, huge shout out to Behemoth. He did a really huge chunk of the research. He watched so many videos. He engaged with so many people on Discord. He did all this strategizing with Forerunner people. He really looked into every strategy he could find. Really awesome stuff. So here we go. Buckle up. This is pretty cool. So we're running this Rivenhald comp with Estrid, Adrian, Ardia, and Ireless. Let me pause again. And then we've got this Piercer comp with Araka. And then we do have dual faction on Lady Mina, so we're running her as a Piercer here. Then Tallulah, who's a phenomenal cleanser for this. We do want to cleanse those now cleansable stacks of the dot damage he puts out. And then the phenomenal Van Helsing. And then making use out of our girl Gwendolyn, who got such a glow up with her big buff. I hope you guys went for her if she was like the one relevant limited unit you were missing. Assuming, you know, you had the 5 better units than her. Go watch my rankings video. Here we go, taking on the Spellbane phase. Deployments are a little different, right? Usually, we used to have this perfectly parallel setup. And now you're gonna see here, I'll let it happen and then I'll explain what's happening. But let's start putting units down. Look at that Gwendolyn range, we love it. Got like that hollow vortex range. Adrian's so cool too. Well, I'll show you the final. I'm gonna show you the final results for everything at the end, but he's basically gonna tank for us while dealing very significant damage. There's our Eyeless, and we need Adrian in her range because she's gonna be our main healer for him, and he's gonna take the most damage. And we got kind of this mirrored setup with Tallulah and Gwendolyn. Tallulah also has that big old range. We got our Raka down here. A little bit useless, but it's okay. It's not nothing. Now we're getting over here our Lady Mina, and then here we got Rivenhald to inspire everybody, and here we've got Van Helsing. One thing I do want to put out, I am splitting up Ardia and Mina. That's really to showcase what's become really popular the past couple days. However, in general, like if I was to really try to perfect this, I probably would put Ardia with Mina because they work so well together. Ardia's not going to get that 30% damage boost during the ultimate if she doesn't have any units under Blood Sigil to hit, right? So her and Mina need to be attacking the same kind of area. However, for what I'm showcasing, Ardia does so well, it just doesn't even matter. But I just want you to know that for when you strategize, but this is not what this is. This is just a showcase. The main thing I want to point out is how much we're overloading one side. And this is pretty clutch, and having it like no longer parallel and having it hyperloaded on one side is actually to your benefit now with the way this works. So another thing you're definitely going to want to key in on, it depends on what comp you're using, how you do this, but in general you should. If you go to your settings, you can now turn on auto casting settings, and then you can decide who are going to just constantly quick cast auto ults and who you're going to do manually. This is really, really nice. So you can see who we've toggled on and off here. Because some of it, you're just going to want to click auto because you just want to spam it out. It's not actually that complicated to fight. The hard thing is creating the perfect team. We'll go over this when we do like the giant, super overview, ultimate guide. But the hard thing is picking the perfect team, gearing the perfect team, and making the whole thing, work so perfectly. But a lot of the timings in the actual fight, it's just blasting AoE damage, which is, that's what a lot of AoE content ends up being. So figure out who you want to toggle on and toggle off. You can see with all the DPS and with Tallulah, it's just going full auto. And if I take this back, you'll just see I'm going to keep my manual for Adrian. That's really important for shields when the focus strikes come. Rivenhald, that's going to be extra shielding, right? Plus inspiration, but it's really his big shields. And then it's going to be Gwendolyn for, you guessed it, her shields. All right, let's actually watch this thing, baby. Here's the decay overflow coming, right? So it's going to be that big hit. You can see he puts out those marks, kind of looking like a poison. It's his unique little dot. That's going to be a little Gwendolyn there. So I did just auto enable Rivenhald there as well, but you can see I'm keeping off Adrian. Very important, I control Adrian manually for when Zerbus comes in with the focus strikes because I want to get those shields up. And likewise with Gwendolyn, we want that on manual. So when I need it, I can control her big shields manually. So the last thing before we re-engage with the showcase and we actually watch this is right now, these are my autocast settings, but it's not until deeper in the fight we're going to autocast. And that is just so key as well for the strategy of this fight. Basically, you're going to do a lot of sitting and waiting on ults until the right moment. Then you turn on auto and then you turn it off until you need to do it again. So what are those moments you're about to see? So we're into the battle. I do have all my autocast settings. You click this button once you toggle it on in your general account settings. If you're not seeing it, you click this button here, right there. But I haven't actually turned this on for autocasting. And that's because you want to do it strategically at the right moments. I just got to let this run so you can see it. You put out the decay overflow, you can see those dots there. Now I'm going to get some shields out right when the focus strike's coming. You can see Adrian is doing great. And yeah, I'm not ulting with any DPS. I'm not ulting with Rivenhald. So you might be wondering why. Well, this is kind of why. You see this? The energy's happening, right? He's getting his energy stacks. He's getting stronger. If I killed faster, they just spawn new mobs. And then more mobs come up. And yes, I'm getting more damage in theory. I'm getting more mech fragments. But the benefit of that is not worth making him too strong too fast. And this is something a lot of people have been discovering lately. Here's going to be another focus strike. I'm still not turning on the auto ults, so I'm still not going in. When I turn on the auto ults with all the DPS we have triggered for auto ults, here's going to be another shield. So now this time Adrian's giving it to himself, so we're alternating there with Gwen and Adrian. Now you're going to see, getting ready. Here comes the Pact of Silence, so that countdown's going to begin. This is when I'm going to start cooking. Look at that. Let me actually, you might have just missed it. This is when I'm going to hit that toggle. So watch down here. That's the moment, because it's during the Pact of Silence that you can knock that energy back. So we're at 37 right now. Here comes the pack. I turn on the auto, and now look at that go down. We were at 37. Now we got to 30. Now we got to 27, 26, 24. This is more valuable because this is going to allow you to last longer in the fight, deal more damage in the fight because their HP is not going to get too high too fast. Remember, those stacks of energy, each one of these, when this number goes up, it means the boss's attack and HP is going up by that number percentage. So right now it's 46%, 47, 48, but also the mobs. And we can't let the mobs get too tanky too fast, right? That's kind of where we're at right now. And that's very, very important. At some point in the fight, you're just going to say, throw on the autos, let's go. But when you're getting started, this is more important. And look at that. We're already coming up on 12K, 6 minutes left. It's looking really, really good. All A0 comp, right? Really nice. Here comes a focus strike. Get the shields up. I'm going to get it through Adrian's ult there with a little manual. Now you see, turn on the auto casting when Pact of Silence comes up, because now when everyone gets their ults up, now we're knocking that back. So we're at 82, now we're at 73, 72, 70. This just gives you longevity in the fight, and the key thing is keeping those mobs from getting too tanky. You can also see, let's just talk about the visual of the fight and how the flow actually works. We get the pattern now, right? The way it's alternating. You know, we get the decay overflow, we get the focus strike, we get the decay overflow, we get the focus strike, we get the Pact of Silence. But they don't like mob in and move and go to the boss. They just kind of stay where they are. We know where they're going to be, so we don't have to worry as much about ranges because we know how to set up the ranges for our DPS at the start of the fight. And then we just kind of hammer away. So the actual flow is different. It's not them coming out of portals and then moving up and, you know, serpentining to the boss, however you want to think about it, snaking up to him. There we get an ult with Adrian for some shielding, and you can see he's just tanking this thing still. He's crazy. There we go. Our third rotation of it, right? Here comes the Pact of Silence. Now I trigger Estrid and then quickly turn on the auto ults again just for this period, and then I'll toggle it off when we're done. 4.5 minutes left. We're coming up on 22k with our A0 squad. That's excellent. We knocked it back to 95. So, I mean, you're not going to be able to knock it back more than he gains in the amount of time. You're going to be killing units, but you're just delaying or you're slowing how quickly he's stacking those up. If we hadn't been timing this out with the Pact of Silences, he might already be at 150 right now, and things wouldn't be looking as good for the long run of the entire fight. You know, at some point you're going to reach a place where you're overwhelmed and you just have to start unloading your DPS, and you can't just save all the DPS and all the ults for those Pact of Silence moments. It's going to depend on your account and how good you are and how good your gear is and how good your team comp is, how good your heroes are, awakenings, blah, 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 blah. But you'll figure that as you go, and I'll explain that in the super overview guide. Here comes the Pact of Silence again. Turn on that auto. As soon as they all get going, I toggled it off, right? Coming up on 30k already. Now we're pushing this back. We got down to 123. Now it's headed back up. You can kind of see the flow of the fight, right? Spellbane is the harder mode still when it comes to how many mech fragments you can deal. So let's say you're aiming for a 100k run, right? You can easily, I think, you know, assuming you're this deep in the game, it completely depends on your account, but this is all A0, right? And the gear's definitely good, but it's not insane. You can get like 40k on Spellbane now without too much sweat, when previously that was crazy. And for sure, assuming you have the right stuff, a lot of people are going to get 60k on Bulwark. There's your 100k, right? That's reward 6 already. That's a huge accomplishment. And by the way, guys, I haven't mentioned it yet. Actually, I'm going to go back. As I say this, I need to do a little insert earlier. So I will have mentioned it, but not in my real time, but I'll edit it in for you guys. It's a lot easier to kill him as a guild, right? You know, you still need as much to kill him and get the bonus reward as a guild, but everyone in your guild is going to be dealing more damage. So for guilds that previously maybe were getting closer to killing or maybe just barely killing, now you're going to be killing, right? You're actually going to be taking them out as a guild every month. So there you go. We're at 35.6 already. Stacks are still reasonable. They're still at 166. So those numbers, by the way, from the guide are if you don't employ this strategy. You know, where you could get something like 430. That's when you're just blasting and spamming and putting out so much DPS. For almost every account, that juice isn't worth the squeeze. It is going to depend, right? But for most people, I think this is how you're going to approach it. It's really good. So there we go. Toggle it back on. And we're going to get over 40k, which is just crazy, right? It's just crazy. All A0 squad. Not exactly meta, right? No Neza. We're not running Watcher. No Leia. No Talon, and we're cooking. Not even running Artie and Mina paired. Really, really, really good stuff. Another reason to run this unbalanced asymmetrical strat is because here with the 4 DPS, we're just putting such a chunk into these guys. Remember, when you clear wave, you get more. So we're making really, really good use out of those silent packed windows when we do unload. Over here, Artie is doing a good enough job on her own, right? Basically, because Araka, she's not doing too much. But pretty cool stuff. Coming up on 42k now. We're still under 200 stacks. Everyone's going to reach a point where you're a little screwed, right? Here's a Pact of Silence. Toggle it back on. You can make such good use out of those autocast settings. So that's a pretty huge tip. We'll go over it in even more depth in the guide. Or, you know, the fight guide, essentially. You know, like the ballistic giant overview thing. Yeah, that's basically going to be the fight, folks. Coming up on the end. We actually are making it to the end, right? Adrian comfortably tanked this while dealing a ton of damage. He's our number 2 DPS right now. I mean, he's pretty remarkable for this. So just a lot to keep in mind. It's not like, oh my God, I need to do Cyrus here and Ezra in here, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, there's like a lot of options now. It's very doable. I know some people were saying the fight was boring. I actually think this fight is a slightly more thoughtful than the old one. The old one I thought was the hottest mess, and it was impossible to see what was going on because everything was moving around and the skills didn't make sense. And obviously, in terms of how much damage you could deal, it was completely overtuned. So here's going to be our last pact of silence, coming up on 50k, huh? Like, that's really, really crazy. At this point, you just keep the auto cast on, by the way, as you've been seeing me do the past little while in this. Everyone's going to reach a point like that on their account. And I think that's really kind of key to see, right? There we go. 49.2k is completely and utterly ridiculous for an all A0 squad. You're basically halfway to your 100k chests, which is going to be a big goal for a lot of players. And this is the harder of the two modes. So if you're doing this here, right, this player is putting up, you know, at least 60, 70k maybe for Bulwark. Who knows? Maybe more. Maybe you could put up 80k or so, and then you're getting that 130k chest. So pretty wild stuff. You can see the total damage there. Let me just rewind a bit. Already leading the way. She also has more stuff to kill by herself, but 861, and then all the guys sharing on the side. Really, really, really nice stuff. Pretty excellent. You can see Mina coming in kind of low. Could have paired her with Ardia better, but basically she's a little clunky to use, I think. I do think people make progress, but you know, some people squeeze a ton of damage out of her, others won't. She's very, very gear needy with that high crit damage build. It's super doable, but it's just a lot. I'm really curious to see how she evolves. She's much, much better after the buff, but the way she fits into this new fight is definitely very, very different. There you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Fastidious. If you like my stuff, please do like it. Videos like this take a ton of time, so consider subscribing to the channel. A big thank you to my friend Behemoth for helping me put all this together. Thank you. Share with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.